Say goodbye to your credit card rewards. Big box retailers, led by Walmart and Target, are pushing for a bill in Congress to take away your hard-earned cash back and travel points to line their pockets. Senate Bill 1838 would enact harmful credit card routing mandates that would end credit card rewards as we know it. If you love your credit card rewards, visit handsoffmyrewards.com and tell them to oppose credit card routing legislation paid for by the Electronic Payments Coalition.
How's your money feeling? It's about to feel happier with a certificate from Happy Money's partner, Michigan State University Federal Credit Union. Elevate and increase your savings with 18-month terms and only a $500 minimum. And the happiest part? MSU FCU certificates yield 4.5% APY annual percentage yield. Now that's a happier side of money. Elevate your savings. Go to happymoney.com/MSUFCU. That's MSUFCU. Funds insured up to $250,000 by NCUA. The APY is accurate as of the 12/1/2023 dividend declaration date. Early withdrawal penalties do apply. Fees may reduce earnings on the account. Any monthly withdrawals or transfers reduce earnings.
Bummer, the holidays are over. No more presents. But yay, you have your freedom again. The new year is full of ups and downs, but however you're feeling, you can always be happy with Prime Video. Catch the new season of Reacher. Rent or buy new releases like Taylor Swift's The Eras Tour Extended Version. You can add on hundreds of streamers. One app, one password. Prime Video. Find your happy place. Restrictions apply. Prime membership not required to rent or buy. See Amazon.com/Amazon Prime for details.
Just a nice place to go, and everybody who's there wants to be there. They're there, but I think that's probably the key thing. All the people are there because they want to be there.
I still think it's a special place. Every time I go, I get a buzz.
Everyone there loves their racing. There's always a good crowd there. They're always a really friendly, knowledgeable crowd there, and there's just always a really nice atmosphere there whenever you ride there. Just a really fun, friendly atmosphere. Everyone's wants to help and wants to make sure you have a good day.
It's the epitome of a professionally run course with a country feel. And it's very much a country feel. Not just saying that's purely for the locals, but it's just a great place to go to.
But you'll be definitely going back to Fakenham.
Yeah, I love Fakenham. Really do. I'm looking forward to my next visit there. Hopefully maybe for the North Norfolk National next year. Being a traditionalist, I do like these regional national races. And that's one of my favourites.
Hello and welcome to the Paddock and the Pavilion with me, your host, Stephen Wallace, for the third of our Festive podcasts. Our guests today are numerous, 12 to be precise, and you have just heard Steven Powell, Kevin Webb, Tabitha Worsley and Chris Pitt talking about the magic of Fakenham Racecourse, the only national hunt course in Norfolk. Through the words of the course's chief executive and clerk of the course, the race announcer, staff, members, spectators, 3 jockeys, a trainer and the course doctor, yes, it seems like a Christmas song, you will, I hope, find out the secret to Fakenham Racecourse and what makes it so popular. But our first guest is author and racing historian Chris Pitt to give us a short brief on the history of Fakenham Racecourse. Following Chris, I will welcome our main guest, David Hunter, the chief executive and clerk of the course.
Well, Fakenham races itself go back to Easter Monday 1905, but there was a predecessor of that for about 20 years before. The West Norfolk Hunt instituted a steeplechase meeting at a place called East Winch, which is on the King's Lynn to Swaffham Road. And in 1886, the Prince of Wales, later Edward VII, became president of the West Norfolk Hunt Club. And over the next 10 years or so, the traditional Easter Monday fixture was invariably attended by the Prince and Princess of Wales, usually accompanied by various other royalty and dignitaries while they were staying at Sandringham. But the problem with the East Winch course was that it was prone to become very heavy following rain, and it was also very difficult to enclose. So early in the 20th century, the committee a committee was organised to try and find a new venue, and they found the perfect site right on the outskirts of Fakenham. So the first meeting took place on the 24th of April 1905, but it was still very much under the name of West Norfolk Hunts, and it carried on that way, and hurdle races were introduced in 1926, and after the war, the traditional Easter Monday day was supplemented by a Whitsun Bank holiday meeting, and so it remained with just those 2 days racing a year.
And you were saying off air that it very nearly got closed once.
Yeah, in 1963, almost disaster, because the levy board that year announced the complete withdrawal of financial support for a dozen racecourses, among them West Norfolk Hunt, as it was still then called, stating the overall cost of supporting a 2-day-a-year meeting can't be economically justified. Now, miraculously, it was one of just 4 of that dozen courses, Musselburgh, Pontefract, Sedgefield being the other, that survived and still exists today. And the reason it survived was because in 1964, its name was officially changed from West Norfolk Hunt to Fakenham, and they introduced 2 early autumn meetings that year. And then Fakenham Racecourse Limited was formed in 1965 in order specifically to separate the West Norfolk Hunts racing from the hunting activities. And without that degree of separation, Fakenham would not have qualified for levy board support.
Hello, David. Thanks for joining me for this racing special to find out the secret to Fakenham Racecourse.
Well, thank you very much for asking me to be with you. And I know this has been a labour of love for you to get together. And it's a great privilege that you've decided to do such an in-depth and fun feature on Fakenham. Thank you.
Yes, my first interview, I think, was back on the 16th of October when I spoke to Piers Reinhold, the doctor at Fakenham Racecourse. And special thanks to yourself and to Trudy Moulton, who's helped with putting this podcast together. And we're going to find out through our guests who number people that work at the course, spectators, jockeys, and a leading trainer, to find out the secret of Fakenham Racecourse. David, you're the CEO and clerk of the course at Fakenham. What does that role involve?
Well, as chief executive, in theory, I'm responsible for all of the business activities, racing and otherwise, of Fakenham Racecourse, and the buck stops with me. But as everybody will know, the reality is that my good team of colleagues really run the racecourse, and I'm just a small cog that says yes to what they ask me to do. But I've been doing it for 26 years, and it's a great thing to be doing. It's a fun job, and I think that Fakenham Racecourse is held in close to the heart of many people here in Norfolk, and certainly we as a racecourse hold Fakenham town and the surrounding area close to our hearts. It's a very much part of sort of sporting and social life up here in mid to North Norfolk.
And you enjoy a race day, do you?
I enjoy race days. I still enjoy race days. I've been here for 26 years. I still enjoy race days. No 2 are the same. They're always different. They always have challenges that are thrown our way. And hopefully those challenges are dealt with by myself and my colleagues, a bit like a duck on the water, a lot of paddling under the water, but looking serene and in control on top. But no 2 days are the same. And certainly this 2023 and 2022 have been probably the most challenging seasons I've had since I've been here. And that is really on account of just weather conditions, whether it's been too wet or frost or too windy or too dry. It's been a really, really challenging time. So I'm looking forward to saying goodbye to 2023 and hello to 2024.
Well, let's say hello to the man in the middle on race days, Steven Powell, the racecourse announcer, and he spoke to me about his typical day at Fakenham Racecourse.
It's busy, but it's quite formulaic, and I don't mean that in a negative way. It's just that it always follows the same path pretty much from the time I get there, which is about 2 hours. I always aim for 2 hours before, but depending on how many tractors or caravans I encounter on the way, it can be slightly less. But yeah, I'll try and get there a couple of hours before. I'll sit down, I'll go through the race card, obviously make any changes, non-runners, jockey changes, what have we, and look for anything obviously noteworthy that might pop up later on in the afternoon whether it be horses who've won there before, trainers who are in form, or that sort of thing. Fakenham also give away these really good hampers to every winner, which has got all this sort of Norfolk-based produce in.
I wonder what was in them. I saw you the other day.
Yeah.
Every race there's one of these big hampers come out. Yeah.
And there's like local beer, local gin, local wine. It's obviously a theme there. Local crisps, and occasionally some bundles of asparagus. I assume that's time of year dependent. So I'll go through all those, make sure we've got enough. We also Fakenham give a bottle of gin to the placed horses as well. So I'll ensure I've got enough bottles of gin for the day. Sort out the best turned out money, which is normally given to me, and make a note of who I've got to meet to do the best turned out and who will therefore be doing the presentation. So that takes up the first bit of time when I get there, really. And occasionally there's these wonderful old silver trophies that need wheeling out for some of the races as well. So I'll make sure I've got the right trophies for the right day. Then I normally do my first announcement 45 minutes, I'd say, over the PA before the first race. That's your general welcome. Here are the non-runners, the ground, so on and so forth. And then this is where it becomes formulaic. Then about 20 minutes before the first race, I'll meet the first person who's doing best turned out for race 1 in the paddock. They'll choose. I'll bring the groom over to have a photo, get the jockeys to mount, and then I'll go in, watch the race, and then come out, obviously, once the race is finished, link back up with the best turned out people, because they'll be doing the presentation, which is normally a sponsor. But if it's not, we can have annual members or the chairman, somebody like that. Obviously, speak to the winners, find out who's getting the prizes and who's going to come up. Once we've had the weighed in, I'll dish the bottles of gin out to the placed horses while we're waiting. Then we'll have the weighed in.
Them yourself? No.
No, if only. And then I will do the presentation to the winning connections. They'll be carted off by one of the directors to go and have a drink and watch the replay, at which point I'll go back into the weighing room, give the details for race 2, and then I'll go back out to meet the best turned out person. And that will then repeat till the rest of the afternoon.
And what's the feel like being effectively in charge of the whole show at Fakenham?
I haven't really thought about it like that, actually, to be honest. That is interesting. Yeah, it's very different, Fakenham. I think because it's a obviously small independent racecourse, there are obviously only there's a limited number of staff, and everyone's got their own roles. So obviously, I think at Fakenham, I probably do more than I would do at the other courses on a race day, because at Newmarket, at Huntingdon, or other places, they've got somebody who looks after the sponsors to do the best turned out. So I don't have to do that. And, the trophies are all laid out ready. That's somebody's job at Newmarket to bring them all out and make sure they're all correct. So yeah, that's why it's busy. But like I say, it's just, it's almost second nature now, really, to be honest, because I've been doing it for like 7 or 8 years. I don't want to say I don't think about it, because obviously I do, because I don't want to make a mistake, but I know what I've got to do. I know what's going to happen. I know where I've got to be, and it just sort of rolls, and it goes quickly, particularly if there's half an hour gaps, because obviously the races are coming a bit quickly, but it always goes quite quickly. But it's just a nice place to go. It's worth the journeys that I have, which are generally not great, going across country with no dual carriageway, because once I get there, you get a warm welcome, you see lots of familiar faces, and everybody who's there wants to be there.
David, how important is Stephen on race day?
Steve is a very important person. Every racecourse will have an announcer. An announcer is different individual to the commentator. And the announcer is somebody there who keeps the racing public at the meeting informed of what is going on, whether that's changes to ground, race conditions, an element of chat and information about the race that's happened, the race that's just happened, introducing the sponsors and winning connections after a race to each other, and doing the presentation is one of the aspects, and other public announcements and information that needs to go out there. And Steve has been doing it at Fakenham for a number of years. He probably and he took over some years ago from his predecessor, and so it is an important, and I rely on the likes of Steve a lot to get things out, and we both have to have an idea of preempting what one is doing. So I think that the link between, on a race day, the clerk of the course, and of course my main hat is my clerk of the course duties from 2 hours before racing starts, and the race day presenter is very, very important. And Steve also fulfills another role with us, is that he is very knowledgeable on race statistics and all aspects to do with around the country, and he helps me in elements of race planning and preparing what races we're going to have at Fakenham as well. So he has that second hat here at Fakenham.
He's always comes over across as very calm, very assured, and he's well known in racing circles because he also works at Newmarket Racecourse. He's
very well known in racing circles, and he's and his wife works for the Jockey Club in racecourse management, and Steve also now is newly qualified, and I'm sure he'll do more of it, commentating. So his tones will be heard at other race meetings, not as the presenter, but as the race day commentator.
Let's move on to the members at Fakenham. How many members have you got, and is it continuing to grow?
We have approximately 700 annual members, which is a good number for a small course such as ourselves, which is set in pretty rural Norfolk, not many chimney pots around. Fakenham town is only a small town of about 7,000 people, and our membership is a very loyal membership. And yes, we lose some each year and we gain some each year, and it's always up to us to ensure that we're putting out the word of membership and the advantages of it, because in pounds, shillings and pence, if you come racing at Fakenham pretty often, then it makes much more financial sense to be a member, because you're paying a one-off fee, and when you do the maths, the amount you pay per race meeting is considerably less than you would be paying if you came on the day, or even bought on each occasion the badges in advance on the website.
Refresh our listeners on how many meetings you have at Fakenham.
We have between 11 and 12 meetings. So in 2023, we had 12 fixtures. In 2024, we will have 11 fixtures. And that drop of a fixture really is it's happened across national hunt courses. The British Horse Racing Authority has made a decision that in 2024, I think it's about 370 races will be dropped from the overall national hunt program, and that really means that each racecourse will, on average, lose one fixture during the season. So we have lost a BHA fixture that we would normally have liked to have secured. But let's hope that we can get back up to 12 in a year or two.
And you have a bit of variety, don't you? You have the Norfolk Grand National, you have Ladies' Day in late May, early June.
Yeah, we do. We have there's some peak races that we have. We have for many years, for 15 years, we've always started the new year on New Year's Day, and had a very successful race day on New Year's Day. In 2024, we aren't racing on New Year's Day. We're going to be racing on the 2nd of January, which was not a decision that we made, but it was something that was sadly forced upon us by a review of racing and British Horse Racing Authority and other race courses being able to bid against us to host that day. So that day will go to Southwell on the 1st, and we'll be on the 2nd, and we'll just see how the 2nd goes. Until we try, we don't know, but I'm pretty hopeful it'll be a very successful day, and perhaps people who have slightly overindulged on New Year's Eve might think, well, they got the first to recover before coming racing on the 2nd. So that's a great day. We have Easter Monday is always a very successful and popular day, and very much in the social calendar. Ladies' Day is the end of the season, when we finish end of May, beginning of June. And as you say, we have other feature races along the way, such as the Norfolk National, which is a 3.5 mile marathon steeplechase race. That's in early May. And this year, on the 21st of January, Sunday, the 21st of January, we will have the race meeting on that day. The two main races on the day will be shown on ITV, on terrestrial television. And that is the first time that Fakenham has had coverage of terrestrial on terrestrial television since I've been here. And I think probably in reality, it hasn't happened for about 30 years. So we're really excited about that, and we hope that will then become a feature of that meeting. We're going to be on ITV supporting Lingfield, who have got their middle day, I think it is, or is it their last day of their winter million meeting.
Well, that's fantastic news there, David. Let's hear from one of the members who I spoke to, Kevin Webb. He's a local resident, and he's been a member for 35 years. Kevin, you have been to all racecourses in Britain. What makes Fakenham such a special course?
Fakenham is my home course, and I've been to Fakenham more often than any other course. I guess having originally become a member about 35 years ago, and having been to Fakenham several times before that with my father, I reckon I've probably been to racing at Fakenham getting on for about 400 times, and I still think it's a special place. Every time I go, I get a bus. It's unique. The whole atmosphere is one of being friendly to the racegoers. You have amazing viewing opportunities because it's a small track, about a mile round, and you can see the horses at every stage of their journey. That, together with the way you are treated by the staff, who are all very friendly, approachable and helpful, makes it an ideal day out, in my view.
What's it like being a member? You've been a member for, I think, 35 years. Yeah,
indeed, yeah. Yeah, it's good because initially you obviously buy your member's badge for the year, pay your one lump of money, and that's it. You don't have to bother about paying for the rest of the year, so that helps. It enables you to go more or less to every place on the course, every position on the course, apart obviously from the trainers and owners' facilities. And it certainly, in my case, it enables me to meet up regularly with people I know and friends who have same interest in horse racing, and I find it a thoroughly enjoyable day out.
Over the years, then, you've seen lots of familiar faces, members that come back every year.
Absolutely, yeah, very much so. And I have to take the opportunity to say that the current clerk of the course and chief executive, David Hunter, who's been in position for 25 years, has made tremendous changes over the years to the benefit of the racing and the supporters. Very professional man, friendly, helpful, and extremely approachable. And he's done a marvellous job. In my early days, Fakenham used to have, I think, something like 6 meetings a year, and now they're up to 12. So that does give extra opportunities for the local people to go racing at their local course, and that is a tremendous benefit, I think.
What's your favourite day of the season to go to Fakenham?
It's usually the December meeting, the one a week or so before Christmas, because it sometimes coincides with my birthday. And this year, it's actually going to be on my birthday, the 19th of December. So hopefully that should make it an even more special occasion for me, and no doubt for my wife.
And David, you know Kevin?
I do, yes, I know. He's been a member longer than I've been employed at the racecourse, but I do know Kevin. I don't think there's a single day he misses. He's very passionate about his racing, very knowledgeable. And through Kevin, my wife and I and another couple of friends a few years ago, we went and had a great day's racing and a short break at Laytown for the beach racing at Laytown. And it was through Kevin who had arranged that for us. And it was a really fun thing to do. And I recommend it to anybody to get over to Laytown and at the end of the summer and enjoy the spectacle of beach racing there.
You've got a very good social media presence with Twitter and Facebook. How do you communicate to the members?
Well, we communicate to the members and to the racing public through those channels of social media, email, text, whatever it might be, website. and indeed old-fashioned letters as well now and again. So I'm not a great social media hound. I guess that this particular old horse has left its stable before the social media world, but I do know the importance of it. So we have very good and capable colleagues of mine who deal with our social media and make sure that we are abreast of what's going on to inform people of what is happening. But, in the time that I've been here, we no longer pay for advertising in local papers or radio and things like that. It's all now promoting the activities and the functions, whether it's racing or non-racing, through social media and those sort of channels.
I went racing myself at Fakenham on the 21st of November, the day when Lily Pinchen rode out her claim with her 75th winner, riding My Gift to You. And on that day, I spoke to two spectators on the day, Cliff Underwood and Alan Ponder, former captain of the Cambridgeshire cricket team. And this is what they had to say about racing at Fakenham. So what brings you to Fakenham on Tuesday, the 21st of November?
I've got a syndicate horse running in the 305, up for appeal, come all the way from South Wales. We come from West Wales, 400 miles, to watch him run.
So why do you like coming to Fakenham races?
It used to be our local track. It's very friendly, very fair. We've got loads of badges today for a syndicate horse, and my trainer is down the road with my horse, not a syndicate horse.
And you can bring your dogs here as well.
Yes, there's only two courses in the country where you can bring your dogs, Fakenham and Cartmel. There should be a lot more that should let their dogs in. They'd have a lot more people going. They're very good here, very dog friendly.
So what do you like about coming to Fakenham Racecourse then?
Well, I love racing, and Fakenham I love particularly the National Hunt, and Fakenham is my closest one, living in Sheringham. It's my closest one, but apart from that, it's just such a nice, I love the course. It's a short course, only approximately a mile round, so you can see the horses all the way round, which, is much better than going to one of the flat races where you only see them in the distance. And so I just love it, and it's a very warm and friendly place. Not all that warm this afternoon, but it's a very friendly place to come to. Always bumping into people that I know, old schoolmates or local friends, and it's just a really lovely atmosphere.
How long have you been a member?
I must have been a member now probably 10 years, maybe more. Definitely, I mean, if you're coming on a regular basis, which I tend to do, then, it's value for money. You save money, and, it's just great. I love it.
Have you had a few lucky days here as well?
Well, yeah, ups and downs, like all race racing, up and down. Yes, I normally pick up one or two winners here. There's often sort of course specialists here, and it's a tight course, left-hand course, and it's a tight course, and so you get to know which horses run well here, and so I don't do too badly.
Cliff was very pleased to be at the racecourse because with his partner Coralie, he was there with their two dogs, Penny and Sam. You're one of only two racecourses that allow dogs at the racecourse.
Yes, and I think the other one would be Perth, if I've got that right.
Well, I think it might be. Well, I was told by Cliff, because he goes racing. He said it was Cartmel, but I stand corrected. But
well, I think there must be three of us then. I've not been to Cartmel, but I know that at Perth, I have been to Perth only 18 months ago with two dogs, and was. Lucinda Russell was there with horses running, and she had a dog or two, so there was a good liberal spreading of dogs at Perth as well. So let's reckon it's three of us. But yes, we do allow dogs, well behaved, on a short lead. I can't stand those extending leads, so we don't have any of those extending leads. I think that people can get wound up in them. So, but well behaved dogs on short leads. With well-behaved owners are welcome at Fakenham. But having said that, if not all race meetings are suitable places for dogs, but if it means that that's the way that people are going to come to Fakenham, then do bring a dog. But obviously, when it is warmer weather that we can have in May, I really would not recommend anybody to bring a dog to a day's racing, because sometimes your dog might need to go in the car. We certainly wouldn't want any problems with that. Fortunately, we've never had a problem of finding any dogs in hot cars, but you've got to bear that in mind.
Hospitality is big for Fakenham on race days.
Well, I think hospitality is a very important aspect for any racecourse or sporting function or activity. We don't have a huge number of boxes and facilities, and the hospitality is based on the Prince of Wales grandstand. But the boxes that we do have are full on every occasion, as are the various restaurant options, whether that's the Firth restaurant, named after my predecessor, Pat Firth, or the Lancaster Room at the adjoining sports facility, who are our tenants on site, or indeed the Punjab restaurant, which overlooks the parade ring. And we're very proud of the fact that we are definitely the only racecourse in the country that has an on-site Punjab Indian restaurant, which is very popular, particularly on cold and blustery race days, of which there occasionally are a few at Fakenham.
And the venue hosts weddings, meetings, and you've also got a caravan park. How crucial are those to the finances of Fakenham Racecourse?
Very, very important indeed. The caravan site has been here. It was established by my predecessor. It's been here for many, many years. And they are challenging as well. Probably the demographics of people who go caravanning are change, and obviously doesn't attract a younger holiday maker. And it has been a very, very difficult time. COVID, there was a bumper time immediately after COVID when everybody stayed in the UK. But since then, the last couple of years, cost of living and things, it's a challenging time. We're in a really popular part of the country, outside of, I think, Norfolk or Cornwall. North Norfolk is the second most popular holiday destination in the country. And it still is, it's challenging. And that's the same for all caravan or glamping operators or bed and breakfast operators. It's a difficult time. It will come right, but one has to, keep going at it. And non-race day functions, yes, buildings. We've got a fantastic array now of suitable buildings, from a pavilion where the chairman has lunch and the winning connections are entertained after the race, up to the new public bar, which is sponsored by Adrian Flux Insurance for the next 3 years. We've got great facilities now to be able to offer to non-race days, whether that's for private or business functions.
You mentioned it a few minutes ago. You've got the Prince of Wales stand. That was opened by the then Prince of Wales.
It was opened by the Prince of Wales in 2002. He's patron of Fakenham Racecourse. He took over from the late Queen as patron, and indeed he is still patron. So we have the King as patron of Fakenham, and we're very, very proud of that.
Plus, the Queen Mother came to Fakenham Racecourse.
Oh, she did indeed. She came since I've been here. She used to come quite regularly, but in my early days, she came to a race meeting. The late Sir, a racing manager who only lived very close by, Sir Michael Oswald, and yes, she definitely came racing. The only thing that was missing was we weren't actually racing on the day she came. I'd had to call it off because of frozen ground, but she was already on her way, so came and had a very cosy lunch with 14 of us. It's a very special day.
Say goodbye to your credit card rewards. Big box retailers, led by Walmart and Target, are pushing for a bill in Congress to take away your hard-earned cash back and travel points to line their pockets. Senate Bill 1838 would enact harmful credit card routing mandates that would end credit card rewards as we know it. If you love your credit card rewards, visit handsoffmyrewards.com and tell them to oppose credit card routing legislation paid for by the Electronic Payments Coalition.
Oh, bummer. The holidays are over. But yay, your weird relatives left. But no more presents. But yay, you have your freedom again. But there are no more desserts. But there's also no more holiday music, huh? The new year is full of ups and downs. But however you're feeling, you can always be happy with all the content on Prime Video. Catch the new season of Reacher, included with Prime.
Why'd you hit him so hard?
I don't hit soft.
rent or buy new releases like The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. You can even add on hundreds of streamers, all in one app with one password. No bummers here, just lots of yay. Prime Video, find your happy place. Restrictions apply. Prime membership not required to rent or buy. See Amazon.com/Amazon Prime for details.
How's your money feeling? It's about to feel happier with a certificate from Happy Money's partner, Michigan State University Federal Credit Union. Elevate and increase your savings with 18-month terms and only a $500 minimum. And the happiest part? MSU FCU certificates yield 4.5% APY annual percentage yield. Now that's a happier side of money. Elevate your savings. Go to happymoney.com/MSUFCU. That's MSUFCU. Funds insured up to $250,000 by NCUA. The APY is accurate as of the 12/1/2023 dividend declaration date. Early withdrawal penalties do apply. Fees may reduce earnings on the account. Any monthly withdrawals or transfers reduce earnings.
Well, it's time to hear from our first jockey. It's Grade 1 winning jockey Nick Schofield, who had 5 rides at Fakenham on the 19th of December. His best was a third for Christian Williams from Wales. And let's hear what Nick had to say about riding at Fakenham.
Yeah, it's slightly different to other tracks in the fact that it's only sort of a mile and a bit round. You always jump the last 3 times, whether it's 2 miles or 3 miles. You have to do 2 full laps for the 2 mile track, and you have to do 3 full laps. So years gone by, it always proves tricky to remember how many times you go round, because it's quite a sharp track. So there has been some mistakes. People miss thinking the winning post, but Fakenham have done a great job in sort of helping jockeys out so that doesn't happen. So but it's a quick, fast track. You need a quick horse that's a strong traveller, but you need to stay well, because they do go quick, and your horse needs to be able to keep going.
It's a long way from home for you.
Yeah, it's a long old drive. It is a long way to go, but they always put on good prize money, and there's always good field sizes. So it's nice to go for more than one ride if you're going there. But it is a long drive, but it's worth it when you get there, really.
Has it been a lucky course for you, Nick?
Yes and no. Yes, being had quite a few winners there, and some nice results. But I did break my femur there once, so that was a bit of a downside to Fakenham. But that was probably 10 years ago now. So we forget about that.
Why do you think the racecourse is so popular, though?
The racecourse is popular because I think the people that run it make it so, as in they make you feel very welcome. They can do anything to help you, and it's all quite close. It's not too spread out, so the atmosphere is very good. And it has sort of like not a point-to-point theme, but I think all the people that go there enjoy their racing. They're not there just for the social or the live band, or they're there for the racing, and that can sometimes make a difference, I feel.
David, you do get the leading jockeys coming to Fakenham.
I think that every national hunt racecourse in the country, or in any racecourse, gets leading jockeys. I think that is a huge appeal of a small racecourse or a large racecourse, is that the top jockeys, they're at the major festival and major meetings one day, and then they're at a provincial track such as ours the next. They are day in, day out riding horses at all tracks. And when top jockeys are here at Fakenham, it means they have to walk through the crowd to get from the weighing room to the parade ring and back again after races, and they are always quite happy to stop and have a quick chat or a photograph with members of the public. And where else in a major sporting event can spectators get so close and so personal with the stars, whether that's the horses or the jockeys, the athletes, equine and humans. But yes, we have are privileged to do that. And, for many, many years when AP McCoy was champion jockey and top of his game, he'd come. There were not many meetings when AP was not riding at Fakenham. Likewise, Richard Johnson and the current crop, Sean Bowen, who's currently leading the jockeys table, was riding the other day. He had 2 wins. He hadn't had a winner at Fakenham for 5 years or so. But I remember when Sean and his brother would come up accompanying their father when they were youngsters, and they'd all stay as a family in the Stable House Hostel. I just reminded him that the other day, and he remembered it with a big broad smile.
One of the most popular jockeys I find is Bryony Frost.
Yeah, she's got a real following at Fakenham. She has a very successful team up, normally with Lucy Wadham, or unless she's riding a Paul Nicholls horse that comes here as well. But Bryony is she's always got time for everybody. She's a highly professional and very efficient jockey. She's got a great personality, fabulous smile, and time to speak to, obviously, to the connections, but also always gives a bit of time to speak to any of the members of the public and things. And she really has been taken to the hearts of the racing fraternity here at Fakenham.
We're going to be hearing from Lucy Wadham later in this podcast. I'd like to move on now, David, to the people that are probably the most important at Fakenham Racecourse, the volunteers. How many of them are there on race day?
Well, I think first and foremost, what you mean is our casual staff. So they're not the majority. They're not volunteers. They're paid to be here, doing the various roles, whether that's car park attendants, gate attendants, taking the money, or wherever it is. So they're paid to be here, but it's not a huge amount they get paid, but they are a massive part of what makes this racecourse tick. They're all local people who give up their day, and they can make or break somebody's day at the racecourse because they're the people who have the immediate interface and connection and exchange of words with the racegoers when they come. And we're very lucky to have such a good crowd of casual staff who come here in all weather to be doing the jobs that they do. And I think they're pretty passionate about it, and they treat people with respect, with good Norfolk humour, and politely ask the people to do what they would like them to do. And 99.9% of the time, everybody does that. And I think there are a lot of regular racegoers who know all the regular staff, and they have a great rapport and a banter between themselves, which is fantastic.
How many casual staff then would you have on a race?
Up to 120 on big days. There can be a huge number, and that's not just as I say, car parking and other things like that, or on gates and things, or stewards. You've got all of the fence attendants who are ensuring that the fence or the obstacles are maintained or repaired between circuits or between races, and deal with all of the equipment that is needed if one has to bypass a fence because of an incident with a horse jockey or both. There's also a massive amount of that will also include professional people such as the doctors, the vets, bar staff, everybody like that. There's a lot of people that are involved, and we don't, on the whole, it's not agency staff that we use, it's local people. And then indeed, after a race meeting, there's a gang of local people who come in and repair the course and put the course back together by treading in, bringing the divots back in, and then filling each hole individually with topsoil by bucket and trowel. And certainly we've just had a race meeting a couple of days ago when it was heavy ground and the course looked like a potato field, and when we've had a good gang in repairing the ground ahead of our next meeting on the 2nd of January.
We should give a mention to the head of your grounds team, Matt King.
Yeah, Matthew is a huge asset to the racecourse company. He leads a very good small team, and then under him additional people on race days as well to supplement the ground staff team. Matthew has been head groundsman here, I think, for about 13 years, and he is phenomenal. And the link between the head groundsman and the ground staff and the clerk of the course has got to be very special. If it isn't, and then you can't do the job. So Matt and I have a very close working relationship. We know exactly what we're looking for. He can anticipate what I will be thinking and vice versa. And we both rely very heavily on each other to ensure that the ground and the facilities and everything is top on, is safe, and is prepared to provide exciting and safe competitive racing.
Are there any particular challenges at Fakenham Racecourse ground-wise?
Yeah, I think that the challenges are that it's only it's a mile all the way around, so it's a relatively tight course, and it means that the shortest race is 2 miles, the longest race is 3.5 miles. When it's a mile all around, they're going around at a good clip, constantly on the sort of turn. It's a left-handed track. It doesn't necessarily suit all horses, and it means that the ground on the corners and things can get really cut up. So it's repairing that ground and looking after that ground, which is another reason why we don't, having more than 12 days racing a year wouldn't work for us. And it's ground that dries out pretty quickly. It drains well, which is good for winter racing. And then come the sort of spring or the autumn, we often and usually have to be irrigating ferociously in order to manipulate the ground so that it is safe. It's got enough moisture content in it to be not to be hard or not to be firm, so that it is safe for horses and jockeys. That's a challenge. We don't have a service track on the inside of the course for ambulances, medics, and vets. So the veterinary and medical teams are positioned in sort of, on the whole, in static positions at strategic points around the course, and then they go to the situation as it occurs. We can do that because it's only a mile all the way around, so we can get there fairly quickly.
From what you were saying about the various staff members, relationships are the key to the successful, and why Fakenham is such a successful racecourse.
I think that one has got to, in anything that one does, you have to have a team that is dedicated, committed. Life has got to be fun. It's got to be professional. And on race days, professionalism and fun are two bedfellows. They're not at opposite ends of the scales. You have to have people who are prepared to step up to the plate, to take responsibility. You can't always rely on somebody needing to get an answer before they make a decision. They need to sometimes make a decision for themselves, and we've got that sort of team. I think we have very little staff turnover, and it's a privilege to be part of that team and to now and again be thought to be leading that team. And I think that management of people, man-management people, and leadership, if you want to call it that, is hugely important. It's something that I've always. I can't put you can't put a figure on the importance of that, and that has been something that's been drummed into me from very early years. I was fortunate to be a soldier for 10 years before I came into racing, and soldiers don't do things just because their orders are barked at them. Soldiers do things because they're working together and going and all rowing in the same direction. And I think that's similar in a small team such as Fakenham.
Well, I think it's about time we heard from one of the casual members of staff. I spoke to Malcolm Pearson, who works very hard on the gate on race days, and this is what Malcolm had to say. Malcolm, how much do you enjoy working at Fakenham Racecourse?
Yes, otherwise we wouldn't go. I don't think anybody works there for any other reason that they enjoy it or they like the racing. And it is. There's a really good crowd of people, and most of the people you meet are nice. So it's a nice few hours of a day.
How long have you been working there yourself?
I think I started about 2016, and I've been going every year since. And even through COVID, I did some of the gate stuff for them then. So I've managed to work all the way through.
Talk us through your day when you're working on one of the gates.
Well, our gate is down by the Gallows bowling area, so it's a case. I tend to like to be one of the first in, so that we go down and just make sure everything is set out right. But it depends on the meeting, because on some of the smaller meetings, we're not going to get the crowds, and there's perhaps 3 people working on the gate. But on the really big meetings, there may be up to 6 or more. So it's turn up, pop in, get all my tickets and stuff, a bit of a briefing of if we're getting any buses expected, any free, tickets that people have pre-booked and left at the gate, list of who the reciprocal meetings are, and stuff like that. Then it's get down, make sure the signs are out. The first bit then is a lot of staff coming in and stall holders, just making sure the people coming in are who they should be. And then we wait for the mad rush that usually happens sort of quite half an hour before the first race. And then we try as best we can to get everybody in on time, which we don't always succeed on really busy days. But unfortunately, we can only do so many at a time.
So what time are you getting there before the first race? How long before?
Usually 2.5 to 3 hours sometimes beforehand, just to make sure there's someone on there that people come in. And it's surprising how early some of the people turn up to actually watch the racing, and even before the gates are officially open. But we're usually there half an hour before the gates officially open. And then we do a staggered route, so 2 of us will turn up then, and then 2 more come an hour or half an hour later till we're up to full strength. And
then do you get chance to see the odd race as well?
Yeah, we do. From where we're stood, you can see a couple of the fences, but also as we finish, we can stay and watch. So it just depends at what time you start in the morning. If you're first to finish, you get to see quite a few of the races.
And you mentioned it in the first question. Do you get the feeling that the people that come to Fakenham, it's a special place to come?
Yeah, I think so, because you see so many of the same faces come, and that's part of the nice thing. And it's nice to. There's some people I haven't seen for years that I catch up with, and even some of my relatives occasionally. That's probably the only place I see them. But yeah, it's nice, and people do come from miles, and they do comment on how nice it is.
You must get some coaches then that come from quite a long way away.
Yes, especially on the Green King Day. They come from all over the place then, and it's quite entertaining. Probably that Ladies' Day and New Year's Day is some of the biggest coaches, and Easter, of course. That's when we get quite a lot.
Well, that's the attraction of Fakenham.
Yeah, it does seem to, and it does attract loads of people. So it's nice when we're busy, but we just prefer it if we could just get a steady flow of people and get everybody in. But that doesn't always work that way. And
you said your wife works with you as well there?
Yes, yeah. She started, once she finished full-time employment, she's joined me working on the gates. And she enjoys it ever so much. That's nice for her to get out and we do something together. Not that we don't do a lot together, but it's nice to be, at least we're both working together.
Another person who's always around on race day, and he's been at the racecourse even longer than you, David, is Piers Reinhold.
Indeed, Piers, our senior racecourse medical officer, has been working at the racecourse for many, many years, and he's been the senior medical officer for a long, long time. He was already well and truly in place before I started, and Piers is a huge asset to the racecourse and to racing and to jockeys' welfare and things. He's highly regarded as a racecourse senior medical officer by jockeys, British Horse Racing Authority, and everybody. He is huge fun. And is just an outstanding man. And he tells me that later on in 2024, he will be retiring. So his successor will have a hard act to follow. But Piers is, some years ago, he was a regimental doctor, or he's a doctor for a battalion of the Royal Green Jackets. He understands sort of how the military works. And I think, that's another reason he and I work so harmoniously together, as we both understand where we're coming from, what has to be done, and can really sort of read each other's minds and thoughts. And he is a really huge asset to the racehorse company. So as and when he does retire, he'll be sorely missed. But we'll still be seeing him here racing, I'm sure, but he'll just be enjoying racing without the responsibilities of leading the medical team, which is a pretty high, it can be a very pressured job indeed. So the support of the medical team to the racecourse, to the jockeys, and indeed with the veterinary team. The veterinary team is also equally important. We're very lucky to have such a great veterinary setup here as well. But yeah, Piers he's a good man.
The medical room is named after him.
It is indeed, absolutely. Yeah, when we opened the new medical room in 2015, it seemed absolutely appropriate that it is called the Reinhold Jockey's Medical Room.
Well, I caught up with Piers. He was the first person I spoke to on this podcast preparation back in the middle of October, and this is what Piers had to say, along with a funny story. So what does your job involve on race day?
On race day, I have to have been there before race day to get the medical room sorted out and equipped. But on race day, I turn up about 2 hours early before the first race, check the medical room is in order. We have very strict rules from the BHA as to the equipment that is covered, that's carried, and also the drugs are all in date. And then 1 hour before racing, I do a briefing to all the medical staff. And we have to have 3 paramedic ambulances. We have to have a duty nurse, and we have to have 3 medical officers, myself as the senior and 2 others that I work with regularly. So that comes about an hour before racing. And then I report in to the stewards to say that medically we are in order and that we are able to race safely.
So quite a busy day, though, ahead.
Well, it's yes, and then I have to stay at the end to clean up the medical room, put stuff away, make sure that all the jockeys are happy before they go home, and that's the end of the day.
And you've worked there, Piers, for 43 years. You must have got to know the jockeys quite well.
I can remember some of the jockeys who are now fairly elderly, some of whom have gone into training. But yeah, I've got to know a number of jockeys really quite well, and some of them have been kind enough to sign their autobiographies for me, and in quite a nice way. I've had A.P. McCoy, Steve Smith-Eccles, and people like that signing their books, and it's been a very enjoyable experience all the time. But there comes a time when you've got to call it a day, and I think that's coming probably next year.
You must have the odd amusing story about some of the jockeys.
Yeah, I remember Steve Smith-Eccles, and bless him, he won't be unhappy about me telling this story, because I think he's told it a number of times. We used to have a wooden bar in the weighing room, so when the jockeys weighed out, they used to put their saddles on this wooden bar, and the trainers would then come pick them up and go and saddle up their horses. And there was a large splinter that suddenly appeared. And as Steve moved away from the wooden bar, this thing went straight in through his jodhpurs and into his bottom, into his buttock. And I got this call to say, could I come to the weighing room? And I wanted to say, well, I'm actually in the paddock waiting for them to go out onto the court. And they said, well, there's a jockey who needs to see you. And so I said, okay, why? And what I hadn't realized was that we were on the radio, and next door to me was Racing Post, and he was listening in. And they said, well, it's Steve Smith-Eccles. And I said, well, okay, what's the problem? And they said, well, he's got a splinter in his bum. And I said, okay, fine. Well, I haven't got time to take it out at the moment, especially as he's supposed to be out here about to get jocked up. So anyway, I said, he's just going to have to weigh out a couple of grams heavy. And they all thought that wasn't very funny. But anyway, he rode, he won by a mile, came back into the weighing room. I took him to the medical room and removed quite a large splinter from his bum. And he thought this was fine. But I've always thought that was an amusing story.
It was a happy ending. He won the race.
He won the race by a mile.
What's it like working, though, at Fakenham Racecourse?
It's wonderful. It's a happy course. We have, I get to meet the same crew. The fence attendants are very important. The valets, they are very important as well. All the members of the staff who work on the race course, I've got to know well over the years, and it's a happy family almost. We're all together. The day under David runs extremely well.
Well, we'll find out in 2024 whether Piers does retire or whether he carries on at Fakenham. But let's hear from another jockey. This time it's Tabitha Worsley, who loves visiting Norfolk. Fakenham prides itself on the friendly atmosphere. Do you get that feeling when you're riding at Fakenham, Tabitha?
Oh, 100%. It's a proper local track. Everyone there loves their racing. There's always a good crowd there. There's always a really friendly, knowledgeable crowd there. And there's just always a really nice atmosphere there whenever you ride there.
So is it a bit different to other courses?
I think so, because everything's obviously a lot smaller, so you get the atmosphere. Like some of the bigger tracks at the lesser meetings, you wouldn't have such a big crowd, so it feels quite empty. But actually, they get good crowds, they get good turnout, and because everything's nicely compact, you really do get a good atmosphere. And they say they're people that genuinely love their racing, and they're there to have a really nice, fun day out.
Has it been a successful course for you, winners-wise?
I've only had the one round there for Alan Blackmore, but I've had plenty of placings there. It is a bit of a specialist track, and I probably haven't ridden that many specialists around there.
You mentioned the owner you've ridden for, but Alan Blackmore's quite special to Fakenham Racecourse.
Oh, massively. He's had a horse called Cool Roxy, that one of the bars I think it's the owners and trainers bar is named after. And when they opened it, when they'd redone it, Alan took Cool Roxy there, and he actually took him up the steps into the bar, sort of paraded him around the bar, and then walked him back out.
Is it a course you would like to go as a spectator?
Definitely, yeah. I say it's everyone seems to be very well looked after. We've had a couple of runners there with the yard at home as well, and I say the owners and trainers, they all get looked after. The public, they always get looked after. There's nice stands to see. You can see the whole track, and I say it's just a really fun, friendly atmosphere. Everyone wants to help and wants to make sure you have a good day.
You do attract the leading trainers at Fakenham, David. Nicky Henderson, Paul Nichols, Dan Skelton, Fergal O'Brien. We've also mentioned Christian Williams bringing horses from Wales. They're coming from far and wide to Norfolk.
Yeah, it's attracting runners at Fakenham is the one that you asked earlier on. Challenges. It's not a groundsman's challenge, but it is a challenge getting enough horses to run here. I think that, Fakenham hasn't moved its location. There aren't national hunt trainers in Norfolk. There are some really good ones now in Newmarket, but otherwise people do have to travel. And so why are they going to come here? Well, they're going to come hopefully because the ground conditions are better in the winter, not so heavy, excluding the last meeting. The type of races, the value of the races, the way that the trainers, professionals and owners, particularly important, are welcomed and looked after when they get here. The atmosphere, and I think those are really, really important aspects to it. But there is, I think that perhaps some of the modern day owners don't understand that not every racecourse is at the end of a motorway or next to a motorway. There are no motorways that come into Norfolk, so there's a perception that it just takes forever to get to Fakenham. It does take a bit of time, but it can take a hell of a lot of time to get anywhere in the country, particularly if there's a snarl up on a main road or motorway. As we all know, you can sit sometimes for hours, unable to move, not able to turn around, go left or right. But I think that, we do attract horses and from top yards, and I'm very, very proud of that. We're the only track in the country now that we charge no entry fees for any of our races. It's free entry for every single race at Fakenham. We have a unique double up bonus scheme that we started last year, which means that if any trainer has two or more winners on the same day, then the winning connections of the two winning races will each get £1,000 bonus, and the trainer will get £1,000 bonus. We're the only racecourse in the country that directly rewards a trainer with a bonus, and that happens if a trainer has two or more winners on the same card. So we're hoping that trainers will put more horses on the lorry or the truck and bring them up to the racecourse. And it's having some really good success on that front. So yeah, we're very proud of the of horses that come from large yards to small yards, and with a really good loyal following.
Well, one of those local yards is Lucy Wadham from Newmarket, and she has had a lot of success at Fakenham. She had a winner when I was last there on the 21st of November, which Bryony rode. And this is what Lucy had to say about racing at Fakenham. One of the most successful trainers at Fakenham is Lucy Wadham. Why do you like sending horses to Fakenham, Lucy?
Well, there are lots of reasons, not least because obviously we're the closest trainer to the track, but it's great prize money, great atmosphere there, lovely sort of knowledgeable local crowd, and they look after the owners very well. So it's what not to like about it, really.
You make a great team with Bryony Frost. You had quite a lot of winners there.
Yes, she's it is quite a specialist track, and you do need to know how to ride it and which horse to send. And she's really, we've really clicked with her there. You know, she's very effective around Fakenham.
And what's your favourite day racing at Fakenham? Because you're there most meetings, aren't you?
We always look forward to going whichever meeting it is, because you always feel like you're going there with a live chance of a winner, and that's how you want to be when you're going racing. You
mentioned the crowd very knowledgeable at Fakenham.
Yeah, no, they are very appreciative. They love their horses. And often horses that run at Fakenham are specialists, so they go back for more, as it were. So they get to know the horses, and they really like that aspect to the racing. And I think all the action happens very close to you, so you do get a real sensation of speed. And for the race goer, you're very close to the action.
Is it a course you would like to go there if you were a spectator?
Very much so, yes. I've certainly been there with no runners, and no doubt I will again. I mean, I like to have runners there, but very happy to go there with no runners. It's just a very welcoming place to go, and obviously we know a lot of people there, and it's a great day out.
We've got one more guest, but before I bring in Jack Quinlan, Jack was the last jockey to ride Cool Roxy, who is a special racehorse for Fakenham Racecourse.
Well, I'll take your word for that. If he was the last jockey to ride him, he probably was. But yes, Cool Roxy.
Yeah, May 2011, he came fourth at Fakenham. I checked up, but it was the only time Jack rode it.
Only time you rode him.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's Jack's a great jockey and a good friend. But yes, you mentioned Cool Roxy, a horse that will forever be associated with Fakenham. The Owners and Trainers Bar is called after Cool Roxy. It's called the Cool Roxy Bar, and indeed the horse opened the bar himself. He was led through the building in 2015 and out through the front door, breaking a tape as he went. And he is a horse that was owned and trained by Alan Blackmore. And Alan, the horse ran a total of 77 times over hurdles and fences in his career. And for 70 of those races, he was ridden by Chris Honor. And Cool Roxy won 11 races at Fakenham, which is a course record, and probably will never be superseded, which is why he's so was so respected here, and why we have a bar named after him. And your podcast is at a very apt timing, because a book has recently been written, and it's going to be launched officially at our meeting on the 2nd of January 2024 at Fakenham, called Cool Roxy, the Fakenham Favourite. And it's a short and brilliant story, really just about Alan and Pat, his wife, the Blackmores, their potted history of their lives, and how they have always had, Alan's always for many years had a permit to train horses for himself, and included in those horses was Cool Roxy. And Alan gave up his permit and his license to train when he was 90, but he was the eldest licensed trainer. And he's now coming to Fakenham with his family and friends. And we hope that the likes of Chris Honor, who now is a trainer down in Devon, will be coming up with his family. And we're going to be having a bit of a party before racing for the Blackmores. And then Alan will be with the author, Aaron Gransby, will be selling and signing books here at the racecourse for people to to buy. I've read the book. It took just over an hour. Emotional and a great late Christmas or early New Year stocking filler.
And how can people get hold of the book?
Well, they can at the race meeting. There will be Alan will be stationed. We've just got a small unit on that we've got on site, and he'll be stationed just outside the parade ring, easily accessible for people to buy and or get signed copies. And they'll also be taking orders there. And I think as well there are ways, if you Googled it, once it's been officially launched, people will be able to buy it online. Great little book. Highly recommend that Stephen, that you buy it as well. Be a good little book to read. Perhaps the new museum should stock some.
Certainly, yeah. Well, let's hear from Cool Roxy's last jockey, Jack Quinlan.
Fakenham is one of Britain's most idiosyncratic courses. It's a tight left-handed course. It's only just over 7 furlongs around. You might find a horse performs at Fakenham up to £14 better than it performs anywhere else. It's normally quite fast and furious. Everyone wants to be on the front end, so things happen quite quickly. But thankfully for me, it's always been quite a lucky course for me.
So you've ridden a few winners there.
Yeah, I don't know the exact stats actually. I would imagine it's very close to being one of my winning most courses. Obviously, also being one of my most local. It's somewhere I'm at quite frequently.
So what type of horse runs well at Fakenham?
I think it tends to be, sometimes you have horses coming to jump racing from the flat. They tend to be a little bit smaller, a little bit sharper, and a little bit speedier. And thankfully, that's kind of a lot of what I have at my disposal with the trainers that I ride for. So I think it does suit those smaller, nippier, sharper types than, for instance, your national hunt bred, big staying chasing types that would prefer, a big galloping track like a Chepstow, for instance.
A short circuit, you've got to always remember you could go around again.
Yeah. We've obviously seen over the years people have ridden the circuit too soon, but thankfully that is very few and far between. But generally, every jockey has their own way of remembering. And I like to think how many times you're going to jump the last hurdle or fence. So then, you only have to count to 3, hopefully, that you've got that far. And that's the way I like to do it anyway.
Fakenham prides itself on its friendly, casual atmosphere. Do you get that feeling when you're riding there?
Oh, absolutely. Fakenham is, I think, one of the best supported tracks in the country. It doesn't matter how big or small the meeting is. There's always a huge crowd there. It's always full, and always full with familiar faces. Like I say, it's one of my local tracks. I go there a lot, and there'd be faces that I couldn't tell you their names because we've never been introduced, but they're the same faces you see at every meeting. And there's always a hello and a how are you, and a well done after a winner and a hard luck after a loser. And yeah, you feel very welcome, and it's a very friendly place.
Is it a bit different from other race courses?
I suppose it is in the vibe you get. It's much more friendly. You feel much more connected to your spectators than you would at other courses. But it's just the general vibe of the course. I mean, I think it might be one of the last race courses in Britain that you can still take your dog along to. And everything about that, it's a great family course on the weekends and the bank holidays. You always seem to get families turning out. So it just gives it such a friendly, positive vibe.
So if you were a spectator, it's the course you'd like to go to?
Yeah, on both counts. The fact that all the facilities there are fabulous, and you'd be very well looked after, but also as a spectator course, I expect if you stood up in the stands there, being such a tight circuit and almost the way it's built, where the high point is the winning line, it dips down to the back straight, I expect you could see everything. Whereas there'd be some courses that you might see them for a very small stretch and then they're out of sight again. I think you could see just about the whole course without ever having to look at a TV screen.
Turning to the future, David, what's the future for Fakenham Racecourse? More meetings, improvements to the course?
I think the immediate future, along with racing in general, is to ensure that we do our bit along with racing to ensure that affordability checks don't come into place or not as currently planned, because the impact of that affordability checks for people having a punt online will be disastrous for racing and for the finances of racing. So all of us in racing, and particularly at Fakenham, need to do everything we can to ensure that the central finances of racing improve. Tricky time, with cost of living and everything else, but we're now in a good position. We've pretty much all of our bricks and mortar is in good order, particularly as the Adrian Flux Bar is a fantastic new building that replaces the old Long Bar, which was really on its last legs. So it's just sort of general maintenance moving forward, ensuring that we have as competitive and bigger fields as possible, and that we continue to do, we value and are proud of our independence and to do things sometimes a little bit differently, sometimes a little bit quirky, sometimes a little bit bloody-headed or bloody-minded. I think all those things are good, but to ensure that we provide good quality racing, value for money, and a fun day out, irrespective of what the good Lord might be throwing at us as far as the weather is concerned. But watering, seeing if we can be more efficient with how we use the water for irrigating. Water is becoming a scarcer and scarcer resource throughout the country. So we need to be doing everything to ensure that we're being as efficient as possible. We're in the spring putting in a large ground-mounted solar array in one area, so that we'll be reducing our electric requirement or our electric pull on the national grid. Quite a large solar system is going in. And I think those are the areas that we're really concentrating on, and ensuring that it'd be nice to get back to having 12 races as well. We won't go beyond 12 races because we'll never race in the summer, in the true summer. It gets too warm here. We haven't got enough water to irrigate the ground and things like that. It needs the 4 or 5 month break to properly recover and to recover from a hard pounding through the winter months.
And you're confident that Fakenham Racecourse can continue to maintain that friendly atmosphere that everyone enjoys when they go to Norfolk?
Absolutely. I think that is fundamental. And I'm passionate that we will do that. That kind of the historical aspect of it is really, really important. Tradition, if you lose an aspect of tradition, you can never get it back. So I think that the improvements that have happened to the bricks and mortar and the fabric of the place over the years has all happened, but without changing the unique atmosphere of the place. And that's something that have been passionate about and really worked hard to ensure that atmosphere remains. It's crucial. It's what makes us perhaps a little bit different to other racecourses.
It really is part of the community, Fakenham Racecourse.
Yeah, I feel it is. What is good for Fakenham Racecourse must be good for Fakenham Town and the surrounding area. And I think that's a sort of mantra that I repeat to myself on a regular basis. And as long as we continue doing that, I think we will be keep ourselves in good shape.
Yes, it must be good for Fakenham as a town when there's racing at Fakenham.
Absolutely. All of our food vendors and everybody, our bar partners, they're all local people. We want to keep the cash floating around in Norfolk when people come here. And that's a really important aspect.
Well, thank you again, David, for being part of the Paddock and the Pavilion. Thank you for helping me get the guests. Special thanks also to Trudy Moulton, who's been a great help as well. I hope the podcast has shown why Fakenham is such a friendly course to visit and will be again in 2024 and for many, many years to come.
Thank you, Stephen. And happy Christmas to you. And if this is going out after Christmas, I hope everybody has had a very happy Christmas who is listening to it. And I wish you all a very prosperous 2024.
I would like to thank all the guests who helped with the podcast, especially David Hunter. It began in mid-October, but has been a joy to make. If you haven't been to Fakenham Racecourse, you now have no excuse not to go. I look forward to seeing you in Norfolk, and a happy new year to you all.
Sports Social Podcast Network. Get great deals throughout the store at Safeway. Right now at Safeway, save on all your favorite brands and earn 4 times rewards points. Shop now for items like Head & Shoulders, Secret Deodorant, Olay Body Wash, Vicks NyQuil, Crest 3D Whitening Toothpaste, Oral-B Manual Toothpaste, and Crest Mouthwash, and earn 4 times rewards points with Safeway for you. Visit Safeway.com for full offer details and to find out more deals. Offer expires January 23rd. Restrictions apply. Promotions may vary.